Everyone at the office knew the new girl at reception was secretly the company's heir apparent. Everyone except me, the project manager who was dating her. And I didn't find out until the day I decided to quit my job to launch a startup. Also, I could give her a better life. That was the day she sat me down in the CEO's office and slid a termination contract across the desk, one that would have me blacklisted from the entire industry. "Stay," she'd said, her voice ice, "or I'll acquire your little startup before it even launches. Your choice." My name is Leah Miller, and I was a project manager at Apex Holdings for 5 years. Life was a predictable grind until Ava Chun started at the front desk. The day she started, you could practically feel the collective posture of every guy in a 50-foot radius straighten up. She was beautiful, with an easy grace that made it feel less like she was here for a paycheck and more like she was on some kind of anthropological study of office life. But she was, for lack of a better word, clumsy. She'd spill half a cup of coffee on the way back from the machine and could never seem to file anything in alphabetical order. The strange thing was no one ever got mad. If anything, my colleagues were overly polite to her, almost deferential. I just figured she had to be some VP's niece. One night, I was working late and saw her still at her desk, looking hopelessly lost. I walked over and saw she was wrestling with a simple data entry spreadsheet. It was a complete mess. I fixed it for her in about 2 minutes. Her eyes lit up. "Liam, you're a lifesaver." That look of pure admiration went straight to my head. After that, helping her became a regular thing. I showed her how to use the scheduling software and how to handle the ridiculously demanding clients who called in. She was always an eager student, thanking me with coffee from the cafe downstairs. The more we talked, the more I realized how down-to-earth she was and thoughtful. She noticed I got heartburn from stress and started leaving a pack of antacids in my desk drawer. When I was pulling all-nighters to meet a project deadline, she'd stay late too, just keeping me company, even if she couldn't help with the work itself. The office gossip started, of course. Whispers that I was punching way above my weight. I couldn't disagree, but you can't exactly schedule who you fall for. 3 months in, I asked her to a movie. She said yes. I never tried to hide our relationship, but the way people at work reacted was bizarre. Guys I had grabbed beers with were suddenly avoiding eye contact when they saw me and Ava in the cafeteria, giving a tight nod before scurrying away. It was like she was radioactive. Once in a break room, I put my arm around her shoulders just as my director walked in. The guy nearly dropped his coffee mug. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, turned on his heel, and walked right back out without a word. "Is it me?" I asked Ava, genuinely confused. "Am I that scary?" She just ducked her head and smiled. "Maybe he's just having a bad day." Even stranger, my career took off the moment we got together. Departments that used to stonewall me were suddenly bending over backward to help. Proposals I submitted were greenlit instantly. Budget requests were approved in minutes. I even got the top performance review that year, no questions asked. I was having a beer with my buddy Mark and told him about it. He just slapped me on the back. "Dude, don't question it. You're hitting the jackpot in love and at work." I was happy, sure, but a part of me felt like something was off. All this good fortune seemed to have started and ended with Ava. "Is there something you're not telling me?" I asked her one night. She just blinked those big, innocent eyes at me. "Of course not. It's because you're brilliant. The company is finally recognizing it." She laid the compliments on so thick that my suspicions dissolved into the warm haze of being in love. We were like any other couple. We walked through city parks, ate at cheap food trucks, and saw blockbuster movies. She never wanted expensive gifts. Instead, she bought me thoughtful things. A nice tie, a quality leather wallet from brands that were tasteful but not flashy. She told me her family was comfortable, that I shouldn't feel any pressure. I was completely, utterly hooked. All I could think about was working harder, being better, being someone who deserved her. For our 1-year anniversary, I planned a surprise. I booked a table at the revolving restaurant downtown, the kind of place with a dress code and a $4 sign rating. I told her days in advance to keep the night free. That evening, I put on my best suit and left work early to pick her up from the small apartment I was renting near the office. She'd moved in a few months ago, saying her roommate situation was a nightmare. Standing on the sidewalk downstairs, I called her. No answer. Maybe she was in the shower. I went up and unlocked the door. The apartment was dark and quiet. "Ava, you here?" Silence. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. I flicked on the lights. On the dining table was a small cupcake with a single unlit candle. Next to it was a gift box with a note tucked underneath. "Work emergency. Have to go in. I am so sorry. Happy anniversary, Ava." A hollow feeling opened up in my chest. And then anger. What kind of emergency requires a receptionist to come in on her anniversary? I sank onto the sofa to wait, planning the stern but loving talk I'd have with her when she got back. Maybe it was time for her to find a new job. I could support us both. By midnight, she still wasn't home, and my calls were going straight to voicemail. I couldn't sit still anymore. I grabbed my car keys and drove to the office. The Apex Tower was still lit up on several floors. I headed straight for the main lobby. It was empty. "Have you seen Ava?" I asked the night guard. He shifted uncomfortably. I think she went upstairs for a meeting." A receptionist in a meeting at midnight. I knew he was lying. The knot in my stomach was a full-blown boulder now. I took the elevator up to my floor, hoping to find a colleague working late who might know something. As I passed my director's office, I froze. The door was ajar, and I could hear voices. It was my director, his tone more respectful, no more fawning than I had ever heard. "Yes, Ms. Chun, I understand completely. Liam Miller's project will be given top priority and all necessary resources. And you have my word, absolutely no one suspects your true position here, Ms. Chun." What executive in this company had the last name Chun? My heart hammered against my ribs. A ridiculous, impossible thought clawed its way into my brain, and I tried to shove it back down. No way. Just as I was trying to process it, I heard footsteps approaching the door. I ducked into the fire escape stairwell just as the office door swung open. My director was practically bowing as he escorted someone out. "Your car is waiting downstairs, Miss Shung. Travel safely." The person who walked out was wearing a tailored black power suit, her heels clicking with sharp authority on the marble floor. Her hair was pulled back in an elegant twist, her profile sharp and severe in the hallway light. It was a look I had never seen on Ava's face. Confident, detached, radiating an aura of absolute command. But even from the side, I would have known her anywhere. It was Ava, my girlfriend. Ava. She was rattling off directives to my boss, her voice crisp and clear, talking about core strategies and quarterly acquisition targets, terms that I barely understood. She spoke them like they were her native language. My director just stood beside her, nodding like a bobblehead. I felt the blood rush to my head, then drain away, leaving me cold and numb. The heavy fire door clicked shut, sealing me in darkness, and it felt like all the air had been sucked out of my lungs. "Ava, Ms. Chun, I don't know how I got home." I sat on the couch in the dark, my mind a chaotic slideshow of the past year. Every strange detail, every oddity suddenly clicked into place. My colleagues' awkward silence, my frictionless career path, the comfortable family that could afford those high-quality gifts, her evasiveness on certain phone calls, her uncanny knowledge of high-level company politics. It wasn't office gossip. It was her life. Everyone knew. The entire company knew. And I was the fool they were all laughing at. What was she thinking watching me stress over her work problems? What was going through her head when I told her I was working hard to save up and buy us a house? My face burned with humiliation. It felt like I'd been slapped. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard a key in the lock. Ava tiptoed in. She jumped when she saw me, sitting in the dark. "Liam, you're still up. I told you not to wait for me." She turned on a lamp. Her face, etched with exhaustion, quickly morphed into concern. "You look awful. Are you feeling okay?" She reached out to touch my forehead, a familiar gesture. I flinched away. Her hand froze in midair. "Where were you?" My voice was so raspy, I barely recognized it. Her eyes darted away for a fraction of a second. "Just a work thing. They called me in to sort out a client's file." It was a mess. A client file that kept a receptionist at the office until 2 o'clock in the morning. I stared at her. She paused, sensing the shift in my tone. She tried to take my hand, her voice softening. "I'm sorry. Okay, it's my fault we missed our anniversary. We'll make it up. I promise. Don't be mad." Any other time, that would have worked. But now, watching her perform, I just felt the chills spread through my chest. Ava, I cut her off. Or should I be calling you Ms.? The silence in the room was absolute. The smile on Ava's face slowly evaporated. The soft, vulnerable shell of the receptionist I knew dissolved, replaced by a deep, unnerving calm I had never seen before. She didn't panic. She didn't make excuses. She just watched me, her expression impossibly complex. After a long moment, she spoke softly. It was a statement, not a question, and it confirmed everything. A tidal wave of rage and betrayal crashed over me. Was it fun? My voice was shaking. Was it fun watching me make a fool of myself, trying to solve problems you could fix with a single email when I told you I wanted to get a promotion so I could be good enough for you? Were you laughing inside? Ms. Chun. She flinched at the name, but didn't look away. Liam, it wasn't like that. I shot up from the couch, pulling away as she reached for me. Then what was it like hiding who you are? Playing the part of a helpless receptionist just to mess with me? Did you get a kick out of watching me worry about you? Plan a future for you? My voice was rising to a shout. She pressed her lips together, the emotions in her eyes churning before settling back into that unnerving calm. I was never messing with you, she said. At first, it was just convenient. And then, I was afraid you'd leave me if you knew the truth. Her voice held a note of fragility. The words were a pinprick in the balloon of my anger. But it wasn't enough. An entire year, my trust, my feelings, they were all shattered on the floor. So, everyone in the company knew. They were all in on this little play you were staging, watching me, the one person left in the dark. What did you want from me, Ava? She took a deep breath. Apex Holdings is my family's company. My father wanted me to learn the business from the ground up. Starting at the bottom was his idea. Meeting you, that was an accident. But my feelings for you were never fake. She sounded sincere, but my head was spinning. The sweet moments, the lucky breaks, they all felt tainted now like cheap gold plating. I need some air. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. She grabbed my wrist, her grip surprisingly strong, tinged with a panic I'd never seen in her before. Where are you going? Out, I said, not looking back. Liam, her voice dropped to a plea. Don't go. It was the first time I'd ever heard her sound like that. Not like the all-powerful Ms. Chun, or even the receptionist who depended on me. Just a girl terrified of being left alone. My heart twisted. It physically hurt. But I pulled my wrist from her grasp and walked out. Just as the door clicked shut behind me, I thought I heard a small, choked sob. I crashed at March Place for a few days. I turned off my phone. I needed to think. After the anger came a profound sense of helplessness. The gap between us wasn't just a lie. It was a canyon of status and wealth so vast, I couldn't even see the other side. I had actually been planning to work for a few more years, get a promotion, save up for a down payment. It was laughable. I was trying to buy a house for the sole heirs of Apex Holdings. My entire life's ambition wouldn't even be a rounding error in her trust fund. Look on the bright side, man. Mark tried to cheer me up. You hit the rich girl lottery. Think of all the guys who'd kill to be in your shoes. You're set for life. I knew he meant well, but it felt like a lead weight in my gut. I didn't want to be set for life. I wanted a partner. I wanted honesty. A week later, I turned my phone back on. A flood of missed calls and texts poured in. Most were from Ava. They started with explanations and apologies, then devolved into panic. Liam, please just answer. I'm so sorry. I never should have lied. Where are you? I'm worried sick. The last few messages were calmer, but underlined with a steely resolve. We need to talk. HR has approved an extended leave of absence for you. You can come back whenever you're ready. I'm waiting at home. I stared at the screen, my emotions a tangled mess. Finally, I typed back 3 words, the office tomorrow. I met her at the coffee shop in our building's lobby. She was already there, sitting by the window in a simple white shirt and jeans, just like our first date. But the dark circles under her eyes were too deep for concealer to hide. When she saw me, she sat up straight, her expression a mix of nerves and hope. I sat down across from her. Miss Chun, I said, my voice flat. Her face fell. Don't call me that, Liam. What should I call you? Ava, the girl who needed my help with spreadsheets. I think that character's run is over. She gripped her coffee cup, her knuckles white. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I never had any ill intentions. At first, it was just easier not to tell anyone. And then falling for you. That wasn't part of the plan. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was scared. I thought the truth would scare you away, that I'd lose you. I love that you cared about me. Just me, not the daughter of the Chun family. Her voice cracked. I know it was selfish. Liam, please just give me another chance. She looked at me with an unguarded, almost desperate vulnerability. My heart was in knots. I had to admit, I still loved her. The feelings, the memories, the warmth, none of that was a lie. But the trust was gone. And even if we could rebuild it, the reality of our situation hadn't changed. She was a princess in a glass tower. I was just a guy on the street below. How would that even work? Her, the CEO, and me, one of her project managers. People would talk. They'd say I was riding her coattails, that I was a kept man. My life wasn't supposed to be a footnote in someone else's story. I took a deep breath. Ava, I believe your feelings were real, but there's too much baggage here. I need time to figure things out. I think we should take a break. Her face went pale. You're breaking up with me? I just need space, I said. And I'm quitting. Her head snapped up. Why? Is it because of me? I can. Don't say you can fix it. I cut her off, my voice sharper than I intended. That's the whole problem, Ava. You're used to controlling everything. My career, my life. But I don't want to live in your shadow. Do you get that? The words hung in the air like poison. Ava stared at me, her eyes filling with tears. She opened her mouth, then closed it, simply nodding as she looked down at the table. Okay, she whispered. She didn't try to use her power to make me stay. That at least made me feel a little better. She was trying to respect my decision. I submitted my resignation that day. The process was unnervingly fast. The director of HR handled it personally, no questions asked. The looks I got from my former colleagues were a mix of pity, envy, and maybe a little morbid curiosity. As I was leaving, my old director caught me by the elevator. He put a hand on my shoulder. Take care of yourself, Liam. Miss shouldn't. She doesn't have it as easy as you think. I just nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Didn't have it easy? She was worth billions. Stepping out of the apex tower, the sun was blinding. I looked back at the skyscraper one last time. The past year felt like a bizarre dream. Now it was time to wake up. I rented a small office and started my own consulting firm. Using the contacts I'd built over the years, I managed to land a few small projects. It was tough, but every small victory was mine, and I slept soundly at night. I didn't contact Ava. She didn't contact me. But every so often, an unmarked package would arrive in my office. The latest industry analysis, a lead on a lucrative but hard-to-get government contract. I knew it was her. I never responded. My business started to gain traction. I hired 2 junior consultants and landed a decent project with a mid-sized tech firm. The client was notoriously difficult, demanding endless revisions. One afternoon, I was at their office for a final pitch meeting when the project lead was called into an emergency meeting. He told me to wait in the conference room. Getting restless, I went to find the break room for some coffee. As I passed the CEO's office, I heard a familiar voice through the partially open door. It was my difficult client, his tone dripping with flattery. You have my word, Miss Chun. We're giving the contract to Mr. Miller's firm. His proposal was by far the best we saw, and we'll be sure to offer him top market rate. We won't let him feel lowballed. I stopped dead in my tracks. A roar filled my ears again. It was happening again. The project I thought I'd earned, the victory I thought was mine. It was all just another one of her handouts. I could picture her on the other end of the line, giving a casual order, and her subordinates scrambling to deliver this opportunity to me on a silver platter. And I, like an idiot, had been pulling all-nighters, thinking I was finally on the verge of a breakthrough. It was all a lie, a sky full of fake stars she'd painted just for me. A wave of impotent fury washed over me. I didn't even bother going in. I just turned and walked out of the building. That night, I called her. She picked up on the first ring. Her voice was cautious, but I could hear the hope in it. Liam, Miss Chun. My voice was ice. Do me a favor. Get out of my life. Silence. I don't know what you mean. I was at court today, I said, spelling it out for her. I heard her breath catch. You earned it on your own merits. My merits plus a glowing recommendation from the great Avishon. Right. I snapped, the dam of my frustration finally breaking. Does it make you feel powerful watching me kill myself for the scraps you throw from your table in your world? Am I so pathetic that I can't survive without your secret help? That's not what it was, she said, her voice frantic. I just wanted to help. I saw how hard you were working. I don't need your help, I roared. I need to do this myself. Even if I fail, even if I crash and burn, it will be my failure. You will never understand that. You think money and power can fix anything, including me. The line went silent, save for her ragged breathing. After a long moment, she spoke, her voice small and wounded. Liam, do you hate me that much? Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. It hurt, but I couldn't back down. Yes, I hate this. So please stop helping me, or I swear I will pack up and leave this city for good. I hung up, my hands shaking. After that call, the anonymous help dried up. My business felt the full force of the market. It was brutal. For a few months, I barely landed any new work. I had to sell my car to make rent, living on instant ramen. I knew that one call to her would solve everything. But I couldn't. I had to prove to her and to myself that I could make it. Right when I was about to go under, an old client from my Apex days called me. He had no idea about me and Ava. He just said he'd always admired my work and heard I'd gone solo. He had an urgent project with a tight turnaround. The pay wasn't great, but it was a lifeline. I worked around the clock for 2 weeks and delivered. He was thrilled and paid me immediately. That check kept the lights on. Through him, I got a few more referrals. Small jobs, but enough to stay afloat. I felt a flicker of suspicion. It seemed too convenient. I asked him about it once casually. He just laughed. Liam, you're overthinking it. I called you because your work is top-notch and your rates are fair. It's that simple. A sliver of relief went through me. Maybe, just maybe, this was real. Slowly things turned around. I moved into a bigger office and hired more staff. I was still drowning in work, but it was my work, my success. Every now and then I'd think of Ava. I'd see her name in the financial news. Apex Holdings closes another major acquisition. Ms. Ava Chin speaks at a global economic summit. The photos showed her in designer suits, looking powerful and untouchable. A world away from the girl who couldn't make coffee without spilling it. We were two lines that had crossed once and were now heading in opposite directions. There was a part of me that ached with regret, but I knew this was how it had to be. One afternoon, I was at a tech park across town for a meeting. It ended early, and for some reason, I felt compelled to walk around the manicured campus instead of heading straight back to my car. I found myself by a large man-made lake. And then I saw her. She was sitting alone on a park bench wearing a simple white sweater and jeans. No makeup. She was staring out at the water, looking lost. Next to her was an open bag of bread. She was tearing off small pieces and tossing them to the swans. She didn't look like a titan of industry. She looked like a lonely girl who had wandered off from the rest of the world. My heart gave a painful lurch. I stood there rooted to the spot, torn between walking away and going to her. The wind rustled her hair, and she hugged her arms as if she were cold. In that moment, her powerful corporate armor vanished completely, replaced by a fragile solitude that reminded me so much of the clumsy receptionist I had first fallen for. My resolve, all the anger and resentment I had carefully nurtured, crumbled into dust. I took a deep breath and walked toward her. The sound of my footsteps on the gravel path made her look up. Her eyes widened with a flash of panic and disbelief, like a kid caught doing something she shouldn't. She instinctively tried to hide the half-eaten loaf of bread behind her back, trying to compose herself, but the movement only made her look more flustered and adorable. Long time no see, I said, my voice trailing off. She pressed her lips together and looked back at the lake. Yeah, she whispered. An awkward silence stretched between us, broken only by the quiet honking of the swans. I sat down on the other end of the bench, leaving a respectable distance between us. I had a meeting in one of the buildings. I found myself explaining, just saw you on my way out. I know, she said softly, still not looking at me. I saw your car. I froze. She knew I was here the whole time. Then I noticed her sad, lonely posture. I didn't dare think about what that meant. How have you been? I asked, resorting to cliches. Okay, she said. Work has been busy. More silence. It was suffocating. I clenched my fists, finally deciding to just say it. "Ava," I said, turning to face her profile. "I'm sorry." She finally turned to look at me, her eyes questioning. "For what I said on the phone that last time," I said, my voice low. "I was out of line. I shouldn't have accused you like that. I know you were just trying to help." "My methods were messed up," she said, her voice quiet and laced with self-reproach. "I'm used to solving problems my way to show I care. I never stopped to think if that was what you actually wanted. I'm the one who should be sorry, Liam. I'm the one who hurt you." Her honesty disarmed me. I looked at her, at the way her long lashes cast shadows on her cheeks. She looked so gentle, so unlike the ruthless executive on the cover of Forbes. A part of my heart that had been frozen for months began to thaw. "Well," I said, trying to lighten the mood, "to be fair, your meddling did get me that first big client. You sent a lot of good work my way since then." She glanced at me, a strange look in her eyes. Then she mumbled, That wasn't me." "What?" I said. She took a deep breath, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. "After that last phone call, I didn't dare interfere with your business again. That client, he really did just call you on his own. All I did was find out about it later." She watched me nervously as if waiting for a verdict. I was stunned. It wasn't her. The project that saved my company, the one I was still half convinced was her doing, was real. It was mine, which meant my angry, hurtful phone call. It had all been based on a misunderstanding. A wave of shame and regret washed over me. "So when I called and yelled at you," she had every right to be angry. She cut me off with a sad, resigned tone in her voice. What I did before was wrong. The more she defended my actions, the worse I felt. I had been a ticking time bomb, blowing up at her without even giving her a chance to explain. "Ava, I'm so sorry." I trailed off, feeling like the world's biggest idiot. She watched my frantic apology, and her expression slowly softened. A tiny, hesitant smile touched her lips. "You know," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "you look a lot better like this than when you were glaring at me." I blinked. Was she teasing me? I looked at her, and she was looking right back at me. The golden light of the setting sun softened the sharp lines of her face. In her eyes, which were usually so cool and distant, I saw my own reflection warmed by a gentle light. The air grew thick. The sounds of the park faded away. All I could hear was the frantic drumming of my own heart. She took a shaky breath, then leaned in. Her warmth, her scent was suddenly all around me. A soft, tentative kiss landed on my lips. It was light and quick, but it sent a jolt through my entire body. I sat frozen, my mind blank, staring at her face now inches from mine. Her cheeks were flushed, her lashes trembling. She was just as nervous as I was, but she didn't pull away. She just held my gaze, her eyes shining with a mixture of shyness, hope, and a startling, undeniable resolve. "Liam," she whispered, and the sound of my name on her lips was a physical blow. "I was never playing games with you. I was Ms. Chun of Apex Holdings. But I was also just Ava, the girl who was falling in love with you." And now she took a tiny, shaky breath. "I'm just a stupid woman who has no idea how to win you back." Her fingers twisted in the fabric of her sweater. "I don't know any other way. If you're still angry, or if you still hate that I..." She never finished her sentence because I was kissing her back. All the loneliness, all the anger, all the desperate, unspoken longing of the past year erupted in that single moment. I tangled my hand in her hair, pulling her closer, deepening the kiss. This wasn't tentative. This was a raw, desperate claiming. She made a small sound in the back of her throat and melted against me, her hands clutching at the front of my shirt like she was afraid I'd disappear. The swans scattered, their wings beating against the water, sending ripples across the lake. The setting sun stretched our shadows long across the grass. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. Her lips were swollen and red, her face flushed. She rested her head against my chest, her breathing unsteady. Those clear, intelligent eyes were hazy and unfocused. I couldn't resist leaning down to steal a few more short, soft kisses. "Does this mean I'm forgiven?" she asked, her voice small, hopeful. "What do you think?" I tightened my arm around her waist, pulling her impossibly closer. A kiss like that from the CEO? That's a lifetime contract. Non-negotiable. She laughed, a real happy sound that vibrated through my chest. Well then, Mr. Miller, my boyfriend, she said, tilting her head back to look at me. Her eyes curved into crescents. It's a pleasure to be in business with you. No secrets this time. Good. I grinned, my heart feeling so full it might burst. And Miss Chun, my girlfriend, no more pulling strings for me. I might actually get used to being a kept man. You wish. She swatted my chest playfully, but her eyes were sparkling. You're the hotshot entrepreneur now. I was hoping you could support me. Anything you want, I said, feeling like I could conquer the world. Dinner. The best seafood in town is on me. Okay, but... She bit her lip and pointed to the forgotten bag of bread on the ground. I still have all this. We should probably feed the swans first. Can't let it go to waste. I looked at the cheap store brand bread, then back at her shining eyes, and I burst out laughing. Okay, I said. First, we feed the swans. We sat together in the fading light, side by side, tearing off pieces of bread and tossing them to the birds. It was simple. It was normal. Her hand found mine, her fingers lacing through my own. It was warm, solid, and real. And I knew this time we were holding on to the truth.